Betsy, I just have to say that my arm hurts from reaching around so much to pat myself on the back. Plus, the conclave has high-fived me so much, I don't know if I'll be able to type today with my right hand. But I just want to say that, it's everything we predicted. It's a nothing burger times a nothing burger. And there, as we have already demonstrated, what is the result of Mueller's investigation? Let's talk about this. But first, let's check the trip code. Uh-oh. No trip code. Uh-oh, wait. Well, let's check the name. Oh, it doesn't say Donald J. Trump. We're working from a tweet that doesn't exist. Wait a second. The most prolific tweeter in the entire universe, did not tweet about the Mueller investigation ending.
Well, that's all well and good, but I had a little bit more of an introduction.
Oh.
So I just want a lot of folks that are chiming in for the first time, they don't know what the conclave is. Well over 2 years ago, when we saw that the media was not only just fake, it was outright propaganda, we assembled the smartest people we knew together to start analyzing what was really going on. And from that point, we have just pulled out some amazing truths that we offer our community. And then you guys out there, you're taking it and you're educating and enlightening your audience, which is really changing what we're doing in the world.
You really want me to reveal the secret of the conclave, the secrets of the conclave? I will if you want, because really, they don't care. Okay, so the conclave goes back 30 years to a group called the Romantic Futurists, who wrote a manifesto basically stating that they're going to strive after truth. And so this group was formed, and it had people here in this area. Literally, there were a couple hundred people in this area who were part of this group that would meet. And we studied things. We did research topics. For instance, we take a topic, salt. How does salt relate to people living right here in this area? And then we'd all study it, bring it together, record it, tape record it, and sometimes turn it into a little pamphlet. So this started a long, long, long time ago. So these people now, many of them have gone to different parts of the world.
Many of them are dead.
Some are dead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I laugh. I almost was one of them just a few months ago. I almost joined the conclave in heaven. But the deal is you want to know cheesecake? It's because when I didn't have the money, let's say it, to bring them together, I could bring them here through cheesecake and our cappuccino machine.
It's a technique we learned in our days of education. If you feed the teachers, they will come to the teachers' meeting. So we use that technique. But I came late to the game. I only came a few years ago, and I would sit in and listen to the conversations, the amazing conversations that you guys were having, and said, we have to share this with the world. So that's when we looked at our kids and saw them uploading to YouTube, and we said, hey, we can do it too. So we're just trying to teach everyone out there the things that we're learning. Now, let's get into this tweet that didn't exist in the Trump tweets, but which is really there. And then also, stay tuned, because many of you have asked us to decode this tweet on March 21st about the Golan Heights. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at the invisible tweet and the one on the Golan Heights.
I also want to say that the conclave used to have a number of women in it. It only has a few women in it now. Very, very, very intelligent people these conclave members are. Many of them are retired in all aspects of everything you can imagine. So,
and I would say, I hope that people have learned to trust the group, because for over 2 years, everything you guys have brought up and shown folks, it's there, it's truth.
And now basically, because a voracious and very aggressive spokesperson for the Anonymous Patriots, those are the intelligence reports, though the conclave produces intelligence reports, and those intelligence reports are what we stand on for our audios. Anything we're saying in the audio probably has a direct connection that Betsy and her team, and that's another whole thing, all the people on her team, another amazing group of people. I don't know most of those people. So she's got her own conclave, but it's digital. It's out there on the wire. So what we do is we create the intelligence reports to stand forever as a truth document that has indictable evidence to say, okay, here's George Soros. You want to put him in jail? I don't know why you haven't. Here's the evidence for it. Oh, here's Andrew McCabe. You want to give him a free pass and let him write his book, which is an alibi? No, here is Andrew McCabe and his crimes. And then we give you the detailed crimes. And then when we ran in to the people over at Americans for Innovation.
Okay, that's fine.
That led us into a completely further, deeper thing, and now we have so many people that we literally, sorry that we don't get back to some of you, but we do like to take your good questions. Now, the big question today, and there's an invisible tweet about it, what about this Mueller report? Why is Trump not saying anything? Because Barr already said, let me explain this, Barr already said in his letter to the Congress, in other words, he's being completely crystal clear and transparent. He wrote a letter saying, no, I'm bound to simply tell you, and this is all I'm bound to do by law, and then he quotes the law, who I indicted and who I declined to indict. Now, because of the leaks, which should have closed the investigation down from the first day there was a leak, and every single Democrat was protected, every single Republican was leaked, every Republican was tortured, every person on Trump's team was tortured, many of them have lost their homes, they've lost their livelihood because of the attack of Mueller, okay? What did he do to the Democrats? Nothing. And who was on his team? Criminals. We've now pointed out even the British Privy Council has their two top lawyers and the FBI controller in Britain, that literally the British controller of the FBI is on Mueller's special counsel team. So, and Andrew Weissman, the person, Bruce Swartz and Zainab Ahmad, they handled the dossier before anybody else did. And they're on Mueller's special counsel. In other words, they were there to cover the trail of their own criminality. It had nothing to do with anything. Here's what Mueller's investigation is going to show: that people who've been indicted, we already know everyone who's been indicted, low-hanging fruit for process crimes. They had surveillance of them, tripped them up, and they made Michael Flynn basically lie because they didn't tell him they had the surveillance and they tricked him. Same thing with George Papadopoulos. They did the same thing with Roger Stone. They tried to do that. They tried to do it with Jerome Corsi. Okay. Then you got three criminals who really were indicted. And they should have been indicted a long time before they came to help Trump. And remember, when they say Trump's lawyer, Cohen, Trump's got 20 lawyers, 30 lawyers. Matter of fact, I saw 2 or 3 more yesterday as I was doing a review of all of this. He has so many lawyers, you can't count them all. Michael Cohen was his scumbag on the street of New York, mafia don for the medallions for the taxi cabs, and he's connected. Look at who his wife is, and he is connected to the Russian mob. And
okay, this is old news.
Okay,
for our
but
audience,
the
this
deal
is
is
old.
They were trying to get a conspiracy indictment. They got 3 of them. Manafort for conspiracy for fraud, tax fraud. Who has ever been convicted for conspiracy for tax fraud? Plus, all those guys commit tax fraud. That's no big deal. They're all those lobbyists, they all have offshore accounts, and of course they bring it into this country illegally. Hello, look at Podesta. He got paid the same amount of money, he and his brother, John and Larry, Tony and Larry. Is that his name? Yeah. The Podesta brothers.
Tony and John. Larry is the plumber.
Larry's the plumber. So the Podestas got paid the same thing that Manafort and Gates got paid. They did not get prosecuted. Conspiracy was because they didn't file as a foreign agent for working for Ukraine. Ukraine's our friend. How is it that's like filing as a foreign agent because you have an office in Britain? That's stupid.
Well, the British are not our friends. And that's what we've really been uncovering over the last 6 months, is that the Brits are our enemies, and they are actually behind. Once we get through all this drama with the swamp in Washington, we need to start looking at the track that leads right back to the Privy Council. And we're not going to let this dog lie. We're going to keep yapping at it until it gets up, gets some legs, and walks through the door and proclaims itself as what it is: British espionage.
Mueller's entire special counsel was controlled by Brits, and let's remember that we have now busted Alison Saunders, basically the Attorney General of Britain, for coming over to meet with Orr's Bruce and Nellie for a nice dinner, a secret dinner. No one was informed.
You couldn't make a movie. People would not believe this if you wrote a movie script for this.
Okay, let's look at this. Break this down. Who was involved that should have been they were declined. Some of these people were declined for indictment by Mueller. One of them, Joseph Mifsud, the person who set up Papadopoulos. But Papadopoulos was indicted, had to go to jail for a day. Ooh, because he lied. No, they tricked him. He didn't even know what he was saying when he went into that indictment, and you don't get your lawyer next to you, and they don't tell you the surveillance tapes they have on you, which in this case were illegal. So the surveillance tapes used to trip up Michael Flynn, to trip up Don Jr., to trip up Jared, to trip up all the people that Mueller tripped up, he never ever revealed that those were illegal surveillance tapes gotten by false FISA court warrants. No. Everybody says that. Wrong. That was their insurance policy. That was all concluded after, right before the election and immediately after the election. That was for impeachment. No. What they were trying to do is just smear Trump so he would lose, okay? But then when that didn't happen, then it turned into basically an attack to try to basically assassinate him before the inauguration. And then, and I say that not lightly, and then an impeachment, a coup d'etat, which also included other assassination attempts since then. So what we're talking about is the fact that Mueller and all the people he declined, Joseph Mifsud, the Russian Stefan Rowe, Sergei Milian, Carter Page, Felix Sater, all the people that he interviewed first, Comey's institutionalized leaker at New York Times, all the people that Mueller interviewed were the criminals at first. He declined to indict them and gave many of them immunity, including the Podesta brothers. Total immunity. They got to file as a foreign agent after they testified. Manafort and Gates didn't do that. So Manafort and Gates had been running a criminal activity for a long time because they hated what he was doing for Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. Victoria Nuland once said, "We didn't spend $4.7 billion in Ukraine to get rid of Yanukovych twice to have Manafort not pay for it. That was a personal vendetta." And now we know that, as you've seen, they're now going for an investigation in Ukraine of the people who created the false information on Manafort. Isn't that interesting? And they're calling it that this was literally, this was the meddling in America presidential election 2016. And the Ukrainians are bringing the charge against the very people, the people we've already named, the people in Ukraine, who were actually really Russian agents. I can name all of them, but that's going to go a bit far afield. So what is the Mueller report going to do? It's going to say, these are the people we indicted, and none of them have much substance except the low-hanging fruit of Gates, Manafort, and Cohen.
Because it was really never an investigation. It was a cover-up with the attempt of trying to find some dirt on Trump so that they could pursue impeachment. So really, this is not a special counsel. This was a formalized coup d'etat.
Oh, absolutely.
So why do we keep calling it, what we're calling it? Let's be honest with what it is.
British coup d'etat.
It was the Brits had infiltrated the special counsel. They did that with, what's her name? Zainab Ahmad.
And Arvinder
Sambai. I got that one. It's all these new names, you have to look at. So you have an infiltration. They're actually probably running Mueller around like the dog he is, to do the Queen's bidding, because the Queen's got to be very worried that this is going to track right back to Christopher Steele, Richard Dearlove, Andrew Wood, Joffrey Patty, Mark Malloch Brown, right into the Queen's toilet. That's the Privy Council.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And now we have discovered that almost every branch of our intelligence agencies had their equivalent in Britain, their handlers, telling them what to do.
Yeah, explain that. That was very interesting that you pointed that out yesterday.
Well, anytime we need something done in America, we ask one of our Five Eyes friends. And remember, there's not 5 eyes, there's 6, because Israel spies on us 100%, and we don't stop them. And one of the eyes is us. So you got Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, us, and add the 6th eye, Israel. Okay, what we need to do is call those not 5 eyes, those are 5 spies. Now, Richard Dearlove, the ex-head of the MI6, in other words, what we would call the CIA, well, he was directing Stephen Halper, who was directing Christopher Steele. Okay, so the CIA's covered. John Brennan also not only worked with him, but also worked with Robert Hannigan because Admiral Rogers wouldn't work with him. So Hannigan is the head of basically the British NSA. He came over and spied on Trump and Trump Towers. So you have the CIA covered with Dearlove. You have the NSA covered with Hannigan. You have the Department of Justice covered with the British Attorney General, who was basically, who at that time was Alison Saunders, who came over for a secret meeting with the Orrs. And then you have what we call the Rogue CIA. The handler for the Rogue CIA would have been Arvinder Sambai, who is basically the coordinator of all FBI activity in Britain and has been all the way back to 911 and worked with Robert Mueller on 911. You can't get any more correct.
Is Arvinder an American or a Brit?
She's a Brit.
Well, what in the heck is she doing in this country having any business in any of our government agencies?
She is a controller for the FBI. She would have been Comey's controller. She would have been Robert Mueller's controller. And then, of course, Robert Mueller had other controllers. He had his Russian controller during the whole Uranium One scandal for 10 years. That's the reason he stayed for 12 years in the FBI, was to wrap up the Uranium One deal for Hillary. People don't know that. It's a 10-year term. Why did they keep him 12 years? Because he was still covering for 911, because remember, they brought out the 28 hidden pages, and then they made it possible that we could sue Saudi Arabia, because if all these people came from Saudi Arabia and James Baker literally was the person who expedited their visas into this country from the palace of King Saud in Saudi Arabia, then hello, we should be able to sue them, right? Well, we are, but nothing has happened.
Well,
why? It's covered up because the evidence has been destroyed. Because why? Look for the evidence of where those buildings are. I dare you. You're going to run into three different stories, and none of them will be the truth. So they were covering up 911. They had all, and then you had Lord Malloch Brown, who was the person who was paid through the Strategic Communication Laboratory, $86 million through the Global Engagement Center. So he was their propagandist for Obama and Hillary. He was paid, so that's the Brit controller of our own Global Engagement Center. Department of Defense, Board of Broadcasting Governors allowed the Brits to come in. If Mueller releases what should be hundreds of thousands of pages, if not more, of stuff he's collected. So he collected the four previous investigations on this. So he just gathered all that up. That makes it look like, oh, here's 1 million pages. Because literally, there were hundreds of thousands of pages in these four previous intelligence reports, which I've gone over again and again. So he gathered that up. He had to hide everything. So as he was hiding everything, they created this other evidence. Now, they're not going to be presenting the evidence they stole from President-elect Trump. They're not going to present the evidence they stole from Cohen. They're not going to present the evidence they stole from Manafort. That was used to get plea deals and to get them to agree to not going to jail for so long. If you couldn't have put Manafort and Cohen in jail, then you're an idiot. That's kind of like the people who want to brag they put a Gambino in jail. How could you not be able to put a mob boss in jail? Everyone knows who they are. They know what they do. They know where they work. They watch the payoffs. And you can't put them in jail? No. New York, Eastern District, Southern District are all crooked. And that's where Manafort's case is going, so that Trump cannot give a presidential pardon to Manafort, because Trump can only give federal pardons. He cannot give a pardon for the state of New York. Now, are they going after Trump in the state of New York? Are there going to be continuing investigations? There have been 26 investigations from Eric Schneiderman, and now the new Attorney General of New York State is saying she's going to take every penny she has in her office and go after Trump with more investigations. They had 26 investigations. Trump plea dealed on Trump University, though he didn't want to. The other 25 were all bogus, and that one was bogus. He only gave in because he didn't want to have to deal with it. And that's the payoff to the two horrors.
Okay, so what happens next with Mueller?
Oh, nothing. Mueller's done. Mueller has sunk his boat. We told him if he didn't stop by Thanksgiving of the year he started, he would sink his own boat. He sunk all of the boats of everyone. All 17 people in his special counsel have now been revealed. He's been revealed. His crimes have been revealed.
Okay, but when are we going to... Mueller needs to be prosecuted for his involvement with the 9/11 false flag. When are we going to see Mueller in a courtroom sitting at the other end?
Well, you got Adam Schiff who says he's going to subpoena Mueller to the House Intelligence Committee because he wants to ask him and make and make Mueller admit that all of this was not for naught.
Well, that's a terrible place to do it because we already know in Congress it's legal to lie. So why would we even listen to anything that anybody ever says in these hearings?
Well, you shouldn't, because nothing happens. Nobody gets
They
indicted.
lie.
Well, what it is it's just grandstanding for the
just
party in
circus
charge.
for us, and we need to turn it off and demand that real change happen.
Until Devin Nunes, and now it's revealed who it was that actually told him to come to the White House. It was his staffer. His staffer was revealed the unmasking by an Obama staffer. And that's what led him to being kicked off for his ethics violation to the House Intelligence Committee for a while, and then he got back on. So what I'm building up to is all of the investigations during the Mueller investigation, because the Democrats, the demon rat anarchists, that's what I think I'll call them now, demon rat anarchists, Comey's 28 crimes of treason did not work. We've spelled those out for you. If you haven't seen that, go look it up now, and you'll see that everything we told you was true and more, and we're still waiting.
I'll put that in the link in the description box below, folks.
And if you want to know what could come out in that report of Mueller's, if you saw the whole thing and if you're able to read it and it was unredacted, would be what we've told you in Comey's 28 crimes of treason. Now, there's other crimes we've discussed, but we haven't put it in that report. So the point is, here's what Mueller got. He tried to cover up, but he didn't, because the demon rat anarchists were so anxious. John Brennan, Clapper, they were all so anxious, especially Comey, to get out there and do Trump in March of 2016. Okay, folks, we're the only ones who told you the truth. Christopher Steele was paid for March of 2016. Who do you think paid him? The Senate Intelligence Committee, and that has yet to come out. But when it does, that's who gave the approval. And who was it that took it to them? John McCain and Henry Kerner.
John McCain
and
is a
David
traitor.
Kramer.
And his daughter, Meghan McCain, will be forever the daughter of a traitor.
These people are all traitors.
And all these people that are doing this treason, they too have families that will be left behind after we've incarcerated or executed them. I'm not sure how that'll all shake out. But these family members will have to live forever the stain that their parents were traitors to America.
Oh, yes, but what they're going to do is Andrew McCabe and Donna Brazile, and all of them will become CNN analysts, and they'll have their book, which is their alibi, Jonathan Weiner. And
no, CNN's going to have to, CNN was truly the enemy of the people. They were promoting this false narrative, and something needs to be done legally against any kind of agency that calls itself a news platform, but it's nothing more than propaganda for the opposition. Because when you look at this, you're going to see that CNN and all of them, you roll it back to this Tavistock Institute and the propaganda wars, that's who they are.
Oh, yeah. And they had Christopher Steele, through Fusion GPS, paid by the FBI, paid by money from Hillary Clinton's victory fund and the Democratic National Committee through John Podesta, paid Russians, Ukrainians, Brits, and the Brits controlled this, and they were using the systems that had already been set up, especially during the Obama administration, through this senior executive service members, who are basically the generals who run all the agencies. But anyway, the Brits had all their controllers, and for every agency, we were going to find the Brit that was the very controller of that person. And now we're finding that those people literally came to America, or they left a huge trail, or William Priestep and Peter Strzok and Michael Gaeta all went to London to meet with who? Probably Arvinder Sambai. And if you think Gina Haspel, the head of the CIA
she was
London,
in the London office,
If you think she didn't know this,
I'm sure
you're a fool.
I'm sure she's given Trump, that's her boss, a full report on the British espionage since she was right there in the London office. And also, by the way, it seems to me that we show you the evidence to details, thanks to the Americans for Innovation researchers. This indictable evidence is overwhelming. The Queen, the Privy Council have been caught. And I say we got to put sanctions and shut down every offshore account the Queen and the royals and the Privy Council folks have, and redistribute this to the people of the world, especially the people of Britain that have had to put up with this crap for hundreds of years.
Now, on with the Mueller investigation.
I'm sorry. I like ripping up the Queen.
But
she is tearing up the world.
We shouldn't even call it the Robert Mueller Special Counsel investigation. It's the Queen Elizabeth Special Counsel, which basically is a star chamber. And the only people, they invented the star chamber. And when you have what should be, it's fake justice. Anytime you impanel a grand jury for a grand jury indictment through a special counsel, it is a fraud. That's what's happening with Andrew McCabe. He's going to get off scot-free. He's getting his book out. Remember, there were 4 investigations on him. None of them followed through on. He had 4 investigations on Clinton Foundation. None of those were followed through on. And he was the handler of the Russians during the Uranium One 10-year ripoff of our uranium resources here in America. So let's not forget who these people are. But what I was trying to drive at is this. Because they're so anxious, one report after the next. Let's remember the first report, the joint report on Russian meddling in the 2016 election, which was given out in December, cost about $100 million, and they said there was like 5,000 people involved in it. Okay? They found nothing but Sputnik and Russia Today. And so then there were two more immediately after that, and then there was the Senate investigations, the House investigation. There are 8, and then of course, the Crossfire Hurricane. This is the 8th, the special counsel is the 8th continuous attack on Trump under the auspices of an investigation or a counterintelligence operation. So it's coming to an end. And all it's done is attempted to cover up the crimes, but they didn't. So during that time, because the Republicans had the majority, there were investigations that were done. And those investigations, many of those, we never got to hear what those people had to say. But now we have 83 of them coming forth because of Doug Collins and Devin Nunes. They're revealing these testimonies, and the testimonies, everyone that's revealed, shows more criminality.
Oh, and our researchers love it.
We just love it
because they're not redacting the names that show us where the trail ends and starts. I mean, we're going further. Now, look, let's wrap this up. Let's move over to this next tweet.
I'm not done. I'm not done rejoicing. Okay. So let's not forget, what did Mueller really get out of this investigation? They're going to tell you. Good old Jerry Nadler in the judiciary. The good old demon rat tells you 199 charges. Wait. No, let me reframe that for you. There were indictments on the ones I just mentioned. Gates got off because he lied and turned in Manafort. That's how that happened. Manafort only got turned in, and so did Cohen, because people stabbed him in the back. But anyway, you got Gates getting off. You can't count Papadopoulos. You can't count Flynn. Flynn actually could... when they finally give him a sentence, he's probably going to fight it. And that's the reason the Mueller report comes to an end before they fight the sentences, because some of these sentences aren't in yet. Because they're going to be fought. Because Flynn doesn't need to take anything. And I don't think Trump wants to give him anything, because he wants him to fight this through. Because as you fight it through, you show who the demon rats are. And you show that the fake justice system is so packed with them. The Department of Justice, the FBI is so polarized against Trump that it's just disgusting. Anyway. When you go back to it, you have to see that these investigations are now, for the next 2 years, as they keep being revealed, beautifully revealed, one at a time. And as Judicial Watch keeps revealing, basically FOIA information on Nellie Orr, but also others, and behind closed door investigations, some people are giving them out. This is beautiful because it just substantiates everything we said. And as soon as that Mueller report is done, he is going to say, Michael Horowitz, how come you have not given out the unredacted copies of the FISA warrant applications? you're fired. You're a bad IG. And just give it over to Barr, because now there need to be criminal investigations on what Michael Horowitz was supposedly investigating.
Well, what about Huber? He looks like a big fat zero burger too.
He's done nothing but hide, just like
they're all
Michael Lausch.
Senior executive service people. Horowitz is, Huber, the whole lot of them. And Barr is too. And it seems to me right now Barr has a choice. He can become a hero or he can go down as another traitor, because we will not forget and our indictable evidence is solid.
Had Mueller ended this even a month ago, we would not have found out about Allison Saunders.
Yeah.
We would have given up. We wouldn't have seen this. We wouldn't have been looking so hard. We wouldn't have found out about Nellie Ora going to work for Hillary Clinton and VeriSign and getting the crypto keys so she could then do more
or we wouldn't have looked at
subterfuge.
Zainab Ahmad's background in more detail. All of these things were because Mueller's report kept dragging on.
Thank you, Mueller. So what you have found, Mueller, is that David Brock put up two horrors to accuse Trump, and there's no evidence. And the plea deal, the plea of guilty for Cohen for election fraud, that's all wrong. If there was, then the Federal Election Commission would be bringing charges right now, but they can't because there is no such thing. So that's fake. And I told you that that CD that had the evidence was fake. I told you that Michael Cohen's tape of Trump was fake. I told you that Avenatti would get nowhere. So Stormy Daniels, that's his big evidence. David Brock paid her. We know that. It was on television. She admitted it. There was no evidence. She had to pay Trump in the end. Okay. The other whore, she said it happened, didn't happen, happened, didn't happen, didn't happen. How many times did she change her mind before she came out, firmly and said, yes, Trump paid her? And who paid her? Trump didn't pay her. And by the way, there was no evidence that anybody was ever paid. Michael Cohen's checks, his retainer paid each month, is all that Michael Cohen brought forth. There was never a wire. If $150,000 was sent in a wire, then there would be proof of it. That never came up in court. So that's all fake. The other whores are fake. And then the whore that was locked up in Thailand, who tricked Mueller into getting her out through diplomatic means, then went to Russia and thumbed her nose at him. So are the 25 other Russians that don't exist. The GRU, basically NSA, Russian agents. No, those names were given by John Brennan. The other 12 who were supposedly part of the IRA did not exist. The Internet Research Agency, that they say was Putin's troll farm, did not exist at the time of the election. And the Global Engagement Center, $86 million plants in the Internet, supposedly of Russian bots and Russian activity, that was all British. And this is all well known because the IRA didn't even exist at that time. And the people in the IRA who did exist 4 years previous were all written about in a New York Times article, and that's where Robert Mueller got it. Just like Christopher Steele got his stuff from a CNN report, unverified, salacious nonsense that people just print because they can type. That's exactly what Mueller used as his number one evidence to get 12 of the unindictable Russians that will never be indicted. Now, some of those Russians have come out and in foreign countries said, I'm that person. That company didn't exist. I didn't do that. I've been in this country for 3 years. Here's my passport. Totally fake. He knew he was indicting 25 Russians that could never, ever, ever, ever be convicted. He said that he went after 3 Russian companies. One was IRA, another company that was fake, and another company called Concord Catering. Concord Catering has been pretty much beaten his rear in the courts since the beginning when they demanded the deposition on the supposed Russian ads that they put out. Mueller delivered every Russian ad ever on the internet from Facebook because stupid Zuckerberg gave him that. And the Russian catering company said, well, where are the translations that went to Americans so they could read them? They said, they were never translated.
Thomas, I understand that you could talk about this for 3 hours.
I got to keep going.
But we do need to look at this tweet about the Golan Heights.
In other words, Mueller has nothing. Trump, not a thing. Not a thing. No collusion, no obstruction, no anything. But what we do have is the trail in this special counsel investigation of criminality, of giving out immunity to criminals like Comey, that is like Joseph Mifsud is probably dead. It's asserted that he's dead. And we know that Glenn Simpson says that Numerous people died over that Russian dossier.
I think George Papadopoulos better be very careful. I don't know that he knows who he's playing with. What he is uncovering in his tweets continue to lead to the British involvement.
Here's what I predict. I predict that they'll be crystal clear with it because there's nothing to hide, and that the closer you look at this Mueller report, to whatever degree any part of it is given out, it'll just show the criminality of Robert Mueller and his demon rat anarchists, and that they will not really play this well in any of the committees that they're in charge of in the House because there isn't any evidence. Now, will they still go after Trump? They're going to continue to go after Trump and Donald Jr. for his Apollo dealings and for his dealing with the 666 building and his dealing with some Russians investing in that amazing thing that didn't work out. George Soros even invested in that, but it didn't work out, so they can't get him for anything. So the point is, they're going to continue to go after Trump because they have to keep covering their trail. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there.
Oh my gosh, you're going to stop? Okay, so this is a tweet from March 21st, and I have gotten so many emails. People think you are avoiding the discussion of this topic. And you know how that goes with these, anytime you want to talk about Israel. And so here it is, Thomas. After 52 years, it is time for the United States to fully recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, which is of critical strategic and security importance to the state of Israel and regional stability. And don't forget to mention Genie Oil.
I won't. Now, as you know, I should go into a historical
You can talk as long as you want. I'm going to walk away and let you just talk.
No, you stay here because somebody's got to keep me on track. So 52 years, except for a short period when it was taken over by the opposition. But remember, the Golan Heights, that's Armageddon. That's the fields of Megiddo. That's the fields of that the entire fate of the world hangs on whether or not a battle happens in Damascus. The Golan Heights. Oh yeah. So remember, it was the Brits and the French who stole this stuff from the Palestinians. So when people want to say that it's the Israelis, it's the Zionists. The Zionists are British. They're good Anglicans. They're good Christians. They're good Catholics in many cases. Okay? These are the people who stole that land. And let's remember, Saudi Arabia used to own all of Syria. And both the Shiites and the Sunnis look at Damascus. If Damascus gets destroyed, their end time has come and they take over the world. Same thing for the apocalyptic theologists who are the Jesuits who have control of the Catholic Church right now. Same thing for the radical, we'll call them Zionists. They're not even radical Israelis. You have to include Sabbatinians. You have to include all these different groups. So the Zionists. Now, what do the Zionists want? They want Israel to have a home. And they basically want this. The radical ones want to take over the world. And so some people say, the Zionists are taking over the world. The Zionists have been very, very good at taking over technology. I could go into that. Look at Talpiot, Talpiot. If you don't think that I reveal who the Israeli Mossad are, then you haven't listened to our tapes. And I do not avoid Zionism, and I do not avoid those who attack Israel in anti-Semitism and Jews. But remember, when you say Jews, you're talking about 100 different groups. And each one of them are radically different than the other.
I don't know. I'm beginning to see a pattern where anytime we talk about the Brits and the Queen and what was really going in the Privy Council, all the trolls appear and start yelling about the Jews and the Zionists. I'm beginning to see that is information coverage for us not probing deeply into the British, really the takeover of the world. It's just horrendous what the Brits, along with the Vatican, are doing to the world.
That we didn't make Jerusalem the capital of Israel when it has been since it was founded is just stupid. Because of Palestinian threats. Look at the Palestinian threats. They never stop. They never, ever, ever, ever stop. Now, should they stop? Well, maybe not. Some people will say, no, the Palestinians have the right to that land. The Jews came there, that when Abraham came there and was given the land of milk and honey, he took it from the Palestinians and the Canaanites. Okay, how far back do you want to go in this history? Let's just go to today. Here's what's going on in the Golan Heights. Genie Oil, we gave money through the USAID, and then we gave loans through OPIC to Genie Oil to drill in the Golan Heights. And it is a huge find. And it's only the tip of the iceberg. They have yet to reveal that the Levant is filled with oil. Okay? But the Levant basin out in the Mediterranean is more filled with liquid gas than you can shake a stick at in Israel. The reason they keep the whole area unstable, and the reason that the whole area is unstable, is to make sure that only Israel gets to the oil that's in the Levant Mediterranean basin, which right now they are just faster than anyone has ever pulled up. Liquid petroleum is going on right now. I believe they have 3 or 4 rigs, but then they are also they have other ones they're trying to stop. Other countries who also have rights to this. So if they keep Lebanon destabilized, every time Lebanon gets ready to build an offshore drilling platform, they get destabilized. By who? Iran coming in with enough supplies through Hezbollah and Hamas and the Iranian Guard that they destabilize Iraq, they destabilize Syria, they destabilize Lebanon, and they of course, are destabilizing Israel and Palestine, but the only one that's stable is Jordan. Why? Because we built a nice wall for them. USAID gave them billions of dollars. We're going to build a wall in Golan Heights, folks, so don't think for one moment that the Israelis are going to pull out of Golan Heights. Golan Heights is not only Genie Oil. Who's Genie Oil? Jacob Rothschild, Rupert Murdoch, Dick Cheney, and a few other, 3 or 4 other people. Okay, all the same normal, usual criminals. They're all Zionists. They aren't all Jews. They aren't certainly Israelis, and they aren't dual citizen Israelis. How did they get that contract? Because the Brits, Jacob Rothschild, always get these contracts. They're the first ones. The Crown agents get first choice on all USAID, all OPIC, and all certified loans. Certified by who? We the people of America. So Genie Oil is actually paid for, a big part of it, for the research, for the drilling, and now for the security of it, by we the people of America. Yeah. Now, I've said this many times before. I do not avoid this point, but I will tell you the truth of the matter. I don't care about Genie Oil because the same amount can be gotten because the Levant Basin also spreads over to Jordan. I care about Armageddon. I care about the plains of Armageddon or Megiddo. I care about the prophecies of the Shiites and the Sunnis and the Jesuits and the Jews because these are radical people. And Hillary was going to bomb Damascus. That was going to be one of the first things she did. That would have started a war in the Levant, which would be raging now. It would make World War II look small because what it would have done is destabilized all the oil and then the back channels for the oils that have already existed through Standard Oil and the Seven Sisters and the British Petroleum and French Shell and Dutch Shell and the others. They all want that land back. They all want that oil back, and they want to drain it until it's done. And then they want to sell weapons to all those Arab countries, so they'll all fight each other. Is that not what's happening? China and Russia rushing into where? Iran, getting the oil deals, selling them weapons. Then, and this is the bottom line with the Golan Heights, those weapons are shipped through the Iranian Guard, through Iraq, to Syria, where there are now over 30 embankments of long-range missiles. But they've been firing them, and the Iron Wall, the defense guard of Missile Guard Defense of Israel, has been knocking them out of the air. There have already been, I haven't even kept track. I stopped keeping track at 3 or 4 dozen of these very expensive. Obama paid for $100 billion for these weapons so Iran could buy them from Russia, so Russia could go to Syria to monitor them so that they wouldn't totally annihilate Israel, but certainly attack Israel to destabilize the area so that Russia could get the oil still coming out of Iraq through Syria, split with Turkey. And that's why Russia's there. They don't care about the Arab people. They don't care about Al-Qaeda. They don't care about al-Nusra, ISIS, or any of the other things. What they care about is that oil. So, what is going on now is those missiles twice have been moved, long-range, Russian-made Iranian bought with Obama Iranian nuclear deal money, $150 billion. I don't know why people can't get this through their head when they keep thinking that it was a peaceful deal. Iran has never stopped their nuclear program ever, not for 1 minute. So they set up these embankments, and we told you that, Israel doesn't claim when they blow up these embankments. But we kept telling you some months ago, and now I'm just tired of telling you. Every time they put in an embankment, they blow the snot out of it. And they kill the Iranian Guard, officers who are in charge of those banks. Those aren't Syrian missiles. Those are Iranian missiles, okay? They kept bringing them closer, so they brought them to Damascus. So for the first time, Israel just started bombing the snot out of the places that these missiles were being held in warehouses right outside of Damascus. In other words, Israel is taking the war to Damascus. And if they really, which they will do, because these Islamic fascist, Muslim, terrorist, radical, I don't even know names for them. They hide behind their mosques, behind their women, their children. I do not doubt that if Bashar al-Assad gets stupid, and he gets stupid regularly, just like his father, who was a CIA agent, who was responsible for the massacre of untold amounts of people, when those missiles go into Damascus, Israel's going to bomb them. And Israel's already said this. Israel has Russia's permission. Look in the news. You'll see Russia. You'll see Putin shaking hands with Netanyahu, where Russia agrees to let Netanyahu bomb the snot out of all these missiles. In other words, $150 billion of American money are going into missiles that are being blown up on the pad and as they are attacking Israel. So they are moving them towards the Golan Heights, which is nearer. It's in the north part of the Israeli territories, and they have to secure that. They have already said, the Israelis are so particular about the Golan Heights that the other day a drone came across and they launched an airstrike against it. You can't get a drone across the Syrian border at Golan Heights. You can't get a gnat across. And you cannot move any missiles any closer to Israel without them blowing them up. And if this continues, they're going to have to blow up Damascus, and then we're talking World War III.
Maybe we should hire the Israelis to take care of our southern border.
Absolutely. If you put the Israelis on our southern border, it would be as tight as their walls, which we helped them build.
Right, which means it can be done. It's just that the Democrats are really the opposition party. More than that, they're anti-American traitors who are out to destroy America. Our beloved America is actually being destroyed by domestic enemies. They are the senior executive service. They are the congressional people that you see that will not vote for border security, including Rand Paul and his 11 cohorts, the Dirty Dozen, and the Republican Party. These people do not have our safety and our well-being as Americans as their number one job. It is utterly the opposite. They want complete and utter destruction so that they can run their human trafficking and their all of the other frauds we won't go into we have in the past.
We built that wall in Israel, which Trump always quotes, saying that Bibi Netanyahu says it's 99% effective. Yeah, that's our money. Okay, we built the wall in Jordan. Jordan's secure. We did that. That's our money. We need a wall here. The only reason not to have a wall here would be like not to have a wall between Palestine and Israel, and that's so that the people basically who, well, yes, there's been encroachment upon Palestine, but at this point, they're not going to stop, and if the wall wasn't there, they would simply invade. Same thing here in America. Those are the, basically, Mitt Romney and the other 11 people who voted.
He's a traitor.
They're traitors. That's what I'm about to say.
He's a traitor, straight up traitor. You could take it back to 9/11, the neocons. Mitt Romney is the dirt of the dirt, and I don't know why he isn't being hauled in to have to answer to the crimes that he has committed against America and Americans.
Bain Capital.
And why in the world is his niece running the RNC? Why would anybody want to give, if you're Republican, do not give your money to the RNC. It's going to these Dirty Dozen people that we just named. What, you don't like what I'm saying?
I'm going to say that, and he owns election machines in 11 states.
Yes. Yes.
How much more corrupt can you get?
And if you give your money to the Republican Party, his niece, Miss Rona Romney McDaniel, she'll go and give it off to all these Republicans that aren't truly MAGA. Folks, we got to make our MAGA movement stronger than it has ever been. Give your money directly to a candidate that you know to be MAGA, or give it to DonaldJTrump.com, and they'll dole it out to the candidates of our choice.
So then on our southern border, the 11 people who voted against Trump's executive order emergency, voting against the wall, each of those are responsible for now every murder of every illegal alien in this country coming across that border. They're responsible. Now mind you, we now know 1 million illegal aliens come across that border into California principally and Texas, and then most of them disappear. That's human trafficking, that's organ harvesting, that's drug promotion. In other words, those 11 Republicans and all the Democrats, every Democrat who voted against the wall, are now complicit with murder, with rape, with human trafficking, organ harvesting, drug trafficking, and the attempted takedown of America. Right now, the number one most dangerous city in the world is Tijuana, Mexico. Now, there's 5 million more people coming to make every single city on our southern border with Mexico into a Tijuana. You can't count all the deaths each day on the southern border. Wake up. If you're a Democrat, pinch yourself and ask yourself why you're voting as a demon rat anarchist who is now going to be complicit with these crimes I've just mentioned. And so, now that the Mueller investigation is over, Trump is going to redact the FISA. He's going to take it back from Horowitz because he was told he had to send it to Horowitz because Mueller was still in charge of all of Washington, D.C.'s fake justice system. And Mueller got to veto every single action of the Department of Justice for the last 2 years. He's been in control of the Department of Justice. Now that he's not going to be in control of the Department of Justice, we believe that a heyday has come. And the reason is because of the extreme transparency of Barr to say, no, I'm going to look at this report over the weekend and give my report to Congress, perhaps, and certainly already to the president. The second he finishes, his duty is not to give it to the Congress. It is to give it to his boss. And that's a fact. And then the boss gets to decide because the boss tells him, Barr, what to do. Trump tells Barr what to release. Hello, that's the law. And anything else is the kind of insane stuff that started with the Obama administration and Comey, the second Obama was no longer in office, who was in complete complicit obstruction of justice so many times with Obama that you can't count. But then the second Trump comes into power, he's like, oh, I don't want to talk to him. I'm scared to talk to him. I won't be in a room alone with him. I won't take orders from him. No, FBI is separate from the White House. No, it's not. So it's a nothing burger. It's what we said. 3 horrors, 25 unindictable Russians, and low-hanging fruit.
Folks, thanks for dropping in and listening to Betsy and Thomas today. We really appreciate you as an audience, and what we really appreciate are all the thoughtful and instructive comments that you leave below. We do, after we load up a video, we read for a day any of the comments you have. We don't answer all of them, but we make notes of things that you want us to discuss, and thank you so much for joining us.